Smoking and Toasting. It's nice to have you on board with us as we do the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Rocket Patel interview coming up on this show. We're very excited about that. And we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. I enjoyed that segment very much, doing the segment that we did in Las Vegas. And it made me think we just have to go do segments like all over the country.
So I call that the commando segment because we didn't want to be so obvious that we were filming in the bar at the casino, because I think we didn't ask them about it, and I think they might get weird about it. But
I thought you called it the commando segment because I was not wearing underwear.
Well, fortunately, I don't think the camera shot was that.
No, it wasn't like on camera that way, but still, I totally misunderstood why you told me we were doing a commando segment, so I prepared accordingly.
So you came dressed accordingly.
I came dressed accordingly, and I didn't realize that you had other thoughts as to what that meant.
Noted.
So we kind of snuck in. It was
we
was
kind of snuck in. So
clandestine.
the lighting's not that good. So if you watch the video on that, the lighting's not that good, but we are truly and honestly having a good time, and I think you can
really
see that.
And
one of the cool things that happened is right after that segment, you guys all went off and did your own thing, and I sat there with my wife and smoked my cigar. I just was enjoying myself, and I sat there, and a gentleman came and sat down next to me, and my wife, being the PR person that she generally is, immediately starts talking to the people next to us. The guy looked a little bit familiar, so I may have actually seen him the evening before, but when I was introduced to him and I started chatting with him, I asked him, I said, "Are you affiliated with a cigar? Are you just here for the thing, or are you affiliated with a cigar company?" He said, "Oh, I am affiliated with a cigar company." And I was like, "Oh, which one?" And he just pulls out of his pocket and hands me a cigar.
Ah, nice. I love when that happens.
And I looked at it and I said, "Actually, I just smoked one of these earlier today. It was a La Galera cigar."
Oh, yeah.
And it was the Maduro that I smoked earlier. I said, "However, the band looks a little different." He goes, "Oh, you must have had the Maduro." And he introduced himself. His name was Jose Blanco. And he was an incredibly nice guy. We had a conversation for a minute, and I told him about the podcast and everything. I said, "You know what? I'm going to review this cigar on the very next episode that we do." So I did smoke that cigar. I saved that one until yesterday, and I did a bit of a review on it. This is the La Galera Habano El Lector. This is the 6x54 Toro. This was handed to me by the man himself.
The man himself,
which is pretty awesome. Ecuador Habano wrapper, Dominican binder, Cirola fillers, medium full strength. Man, what a great construction on this thing. Had a light, nutty, not quite chocolatey color to it, a little bit oily wrapper, leathery kind of feel to it. It was really nice. Pre-light smell was pleasant, very traditional tobacco, a little bit of earth to it. The pre-light draw, I used a clip on this, was effortless. Creamy leather, earthy, traditional tobacco smells. The initial light was very spicy sharp, like immediately, bam, like hit you, sharp, spicy right off the top, and a little bit of leather. The first third of this, the spice turned into kind of a creamy, smooth, leathery with spice. It had really big smoke and a little undertone of a kind of nutty kind of flavor, or kind of a nutty flavor. The second third of this was creamy. It had a little more sweetness, a little more of the nutty undertones, but still very spicy. And the sweet was building. It had a great burn to it. Like, I had no problems with it at this point. The first third of the cigar held its ash, the entire third of the cigar. I paired it with a St. Aug Christmas Ale because I was sitting at a bar and they had that, and it was delicious, and it worked well. The spice in the Christmas Ale and the spice in the cigar complemented each other. It was really nice. The third section of this was more creamy sweetness, builds the spice levels. Everything built up to this great, big, complex, full-flavored cigar at the very end. I enjoyed it. I smoked it down to about nothing.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, I think this was a in the neighborhood of a $7 to $9 cigar. I give it a 6 on the price versus quality. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
You know what I've realized as you were talking about this cigar, and this is the way we normally talk about cigars, usually in the first segment when I'll ask you or you'll ask me, did you smoke anything interesting this week? And then we'll proceed to talk about something, because in the studio, obviously, where we record when we're not on location, it's in a building where we can't smoke,
right.
so we can't actually do. But what I've noticed is we go into a great deal more detail when describing a cigar that we smoked previously than we do like in the segment that we just played,
Absolutely
where we're
true.
in the bar and we're able to smoke there because we're in Vegas, and we're smoking it. Because I will tell you, that aging room cigar that I had in Vegas, that's one of the best cigars I've had like in the last several months.
Well-
I mean, it was unbelievably good, and I don't know if I got into the nuances of it. I think I'm trying to remember the segment now, but I'm thinking I just said things like, wow, this is really good. It's very complex, and it's working well with this Wasatch Amber's Ale.
Well, so
You know?
let's break up a couple things. When we're actually smoking a cigar, we would
Right.
have to keep interrupting our conversations with things about the
Like,
cigar. So I
I'm
guess that
getting,
makes sense.
I'm getting a little nuttiness now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that does make sense. And
And that is pretty
absolutely true.
pretentious. You're right.
And by
if
the
you were
way-
just hanging out with me and I was doing that, you'd be really freaking annoyed. Right?
Hashtag annoying.
Oh, I'm
Anyway,
getting some creaminess.
hashtag creaminess.
Shut up. But am I right? Yes, I am right. Yeah.
So I totally lost my train of thought.
So we're just talking about how
Oh, yeah.
when we do the cigar reviews live, we maybe don't go into as much detail
me and you
as when
actually
we're
had-
reporting.
Me and you actually had a text conversation earlier this week about
We
that
did.
Quattro because I smoked mine and was like blown away. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And we had I was like, man, this thing is great. You're like, yeah, I really enjoyed mine. So yeah,
I was at the Blue October show when you texted me. You're like, this
Oh,
Quattro
nice.
is amazing. And I was like, I'm sitting there watching the show. I'm like, dude, that's the best cigar I've had in a long time. So, Aging Room Quattro, by the way, I just can't say enough about it.
yeah, it was
So.
great.
All right, so what we'll do, this is my pledge to you, is we will try to do a little more detail when we're doing our live shows with cigars. Often when we're smoking live, we've also got a guest. We're maybe at B&B or we're at a smoke shop someplace, and so there's so much going on. I think we get caught up in what's going on in the show or talking to the guest and don't really describe the cigar maybe in as much detail as
Well, we could
should.
just make it a quick structure: is save a minute at the end of each segment and say, okay, here's where we're at with the cigar now.
Works for me.
You know, that might
Works
be
for
an
me.
easy way to do it.
I like it. I like it. So we are going to do a little tasting here, and it's of a beer. Now, I am an IPA fan, as you know, if you've listened to the show, and I am also a complete and total nerd and comic book geek. So when I found out that Brooklyn Brewery in Brooklyn, New York, which is a good brewery, by the way, they make some great beers. When I found out that they had done an IPA specifically for New York Comic-Con this year, I got all excited. And so I had to track one of these down, and I did, and it is the Brooklyn Defender Ale. You can see that it kind of looks like the old school Green Lantern a little bit there.
Yeah.
Did I just geek out horribly? But there we go. It's very comic book looking and very like almost like Golden Age retro comic book looking.
You have geek skills.
I do. I have geek skills, and so anyway, I'm anxious to see what they came up with. Brooklyn's a good brewery. I don't doubt their prowess.
It's actually like just going from the smell. It's actually very interesting because there's a big malt profile in the smell that you don't get with a lot of IPAs.
Plus, I'm getting citrus on the nose. Which you don't
Citrus,
always
yeah,
get.
definitely
on the nose.
citrus on it,
Malt
too.
and citrus, definitely.
So you got kind of a sweet hoppiness going on, which is
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
sharp.
Those are the kinds of IPAs I have a tendency to like. You think about my favorite, which is the Lone Pint Yellow Rose. Like it's got some of that characteristic. Maybe not quite as citrusy as this, at least on
this
the nose.
actually has a lot of almost a lemon citrus on the end of it.
Oh, it does. It's very lemony.
Very, very lemony. It's interesting because I don't like fruit in beer. Like a lot of people will pour a beer and then they'll squeeze a lime or a lemon or something.
Right.
I don't like that at all.
generally do that. Yes.
To me, that a lot of times kills the beer. This has it built in, and it's kind of good, like kind of refreshing in a way. What's the ABV on that bottle? say?
It's not that high. It's 5.9.
So this is
Yeah.
reasonably sessionable.
Yes.
It's quite drinkable.
I do like on the very top label here. I don't know if I can show that well enough to one of the cameras or not, but on the very top of the label, it's got like the superhero guy, and it says "Defend Beer."
Defend beer.
I like it. Yes, this is working for me. I like this beer a lot. Actually,
After a few sips, I got to be honest. I liked my initial first couple sips, but after a few sips, I think it might be a little too lemony for me.
well, again, this is a place where you
Yeah,
and I
we-
kind of tread
we
different
diverge
paths.
definitely
yes,
at that point.
for sure, because I love the citrusy type of thing. I'm not a fruit and beer guy, but I like when the hops have a citrusy note.
Yeah.
That makes it more sessionable for me. It also allows me to enjoy the bitter without leaving a really bitter, hoppy aftertaste on the finish. So this falls into the profile of beers that I like a great deal, IPAs that I really like.
Yeah, and it's the lemony on it isn't just lemony, it's the zest of the lemon. It has that kind of zesty bitterness to it. And again, I think, like, for my personal palate, I think it might be a little much, but I like the beginning of the flavor. The malt profile's real nice at the beginning.
Well, you want to defend beer, no matter what.
Defend beer. I like the idea of the beer.
The idea of the beer. The idea of a beer for Comic-Con is pretty cool too. Yeah, I remember when
Actually, it's really geeky.
You remember when you
It's
wouldn't
really geeky,
think of
but-
like people who would go to Comic-Con as being like even old enough to buy beer? This is how things have changed, right? When you go to the Comic-Con now, I'm telling you, there's hot chicks dressed in costume at Comic-Con. Like everywhere. Everywhere. Like, it's not like it used to be where, like,
Everywhere?
Only-
it's not
yeah.
just like one or two?
no, I'm talking everywhere. And it's not like it used to be like where only the absolute nerdiest girls would be at something like the comic book convention. Now they're coming out, trying to, look like Wonder Woman and stuff, like all dressed. No, I'm serious. Like, it's an amazing thing. So I don't know how we got off
Well,
on that,
plus
but
Comic-Con-
I think I'm just enjoying my Defender Ale.
Comic-Con here in Houston is held at the biggest convention center. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
enormous. The
It's
George
also-
R. Brown is
It's
crazy
also
huge.
right down by my house, so it's fun.
It's walking distance to you.
I'll go out and walk the dog and get to see lots of anime chicks and
Right.
and people dressed as robots.
The
and
George
what
R.
have you,
Brown is
so.
actually your neighbor.
It is. You're listening to Smoking and Toasting. We will be back with Rocky Patel.
Rocky Patel.
Rocky Patel is Smoking and Toasting. All right, so Rocky, we just do a 1-minute intro. And we'll be good to go.
Awesome. So Facebook Live, we're going to do a simple 1-minute intro for the Rocky Patel segment, which, again, you can watch on YouTube as soon as we have it uploaded and ready to go, which we should have pretty soon. But we're going to do a quick intro for that, and then we'll get to segment number 5.
Rock on, babies. So I thought we'd be done early today, but how's the upload?
Oh, it's crawling along.
Yeah. You realize you can't leave until that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be stuck here drinking your beer.
Yeah, well.
It's the worst thing ever.
Life's tough.
Things that I have to do for this company. Oh yeah, the other one's crawling along too.
At least they're crawling.
They're crawling.
I forgot to ask on the last one, did you want music?
Yeah, because it's just like a normal segment intro. So,
So I didn't put music in.
all right.
Yeah, just a little too lemony. I like everything else about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that tail end finish is a little much lemon for my palate.
Says the guy who liked the Bud Light Lime.
Well, that was a choice between flavor and not flavor. Besides, every once in a while, I get a Jones for those Jack in the Box tacos that are so bad.
Dude. Okay, so Liberty Kitchen, right around the corner over here.
That's right by B&B.
They have a on their menu, I think it's the appetizer menu, a 3 taco thing. Basically, it's like, what if a chef took the idea of the Jack in the Box taco and made it just more foodie? Like it plays to the same thing
That
in
same
you that
spot.
loves those late night. I've had too much to drink. I got to get 2 tacos for 99 cents.
But you always buy 6.
Yes, I know, but
Because it's $3.
but these are a little more expensive, but they're not ridiculous, and they're delicious. I mean, you see them and go, "Oh my God, if Jack in the Box only knew," All right, so here's our intro to Rocky. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. the radio program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And
You're pretty good at that. You should get a job in radio.
Yeah. They won't have me in broadcast radio
Broadcast
anymore. You
radio
realize? Yeah, because I actually have opinions.
Oh,
Yeah.
what are you doing with those?
Yeah. Well, you're not allowed to do that.
You're supposed to have opinions. They're written down on a paper for you.
Yes, that's right. So this is a very exciting segment because we're going to be introducing a gentleman we had a chance to sit down with and talk tobacco and cigars and his rise to fame in the cigar business. And he's not only a super friendly and awesomely nice guy, but he, rolls a hell of a cigar.
Yes.
So
Super
please,
nice guy.
please enjoy from our time in Las Vegas this Smoking and Toasting interview with Mr. Rocky